A Cowardly Murder by S.C. Turnbo. Mr. William F. Robinson, a veteran of the Civil War on the Union side, told the writer the following account of a dastardly murder in Civil War times. Mr. Robinson said that a coward always did a cowardly act by killing men when they had all the advantage on their side. A brave soldier killed men in accordance with the rules of war. I'm going to tell you a story of a murder which was committed in our army in the presence of a large number of men, I myself being a witness of it. One day, while a body of us were escorting a wagon train loaded with supplies for the troops, and while passing over the old wire road between Mudtown and Fayetteville, Arkansas, and 10 miles northeast of the last named place, we met a man that was walking and leading a horse by the bridle reins. When the man met the advance guard in the front wagon, he left the road and walked along near the side of it until he met the hindmost wagon in the rear guard. We were cavalry, and I belonged to the rear guard, and just as we had passed him, I saw him get back into the road and go on his way. Just as he did so, one of our men, who was a rough character, and was more like a Cossack than an American soldier, aimed his gun at the man and shot him down without the least provocation. It was simply a cold-blooded murder. The troops were all halted at once, and the commanding officer ordered the murderer arrested immediately, which was promptly done and placed under guard. It turned out in a few minutes that an officer of the escort had urged and persuaded the man to shoot the civilian, and this officer was also arrested. In the meantime, a great commotion among all the soldiers took place, for they did not approve of the killing. It was a hot time then, for we expected every moment to be attacked by the enemy, and while the skirmishers and vedettes were on alert, watching for the approach of the Southern men, our commander, Captain Charlie Moss, ordered a hasty investigation of the dead body of the man for the purpose of identification, and 3 or 4 officers were detailed to make up the examination and report as quick as possible. Now, the man was dressed in citizen's clothes, and it developed that he carried a lot of papers on his person which led to his identification. It also turned out that he was a Union man and was on his way out of Arkansas into Missouri. He had a roll of promissory notes and a sum of money. Now, I cannot call to mind the name of the man nor what part of Arkansas he hailed from, as we expected an attack from the Southern forces. But we could not remain any longer than really necessary, and the examination was hurried through with, and it was completed, and Captain Moss called for 3 volunteers to bury the dead man as decent as the circumstances would admit. And I and my brother Zeke Robinson and another man offered our services, and the captain directed us to pick up the body and put it in a wagon and haul it to the first house where we could borrow some tools to dig a grave and bury it. We found it was only a half-mile to the next house, where the lady of the house loaned us a hoe and a shovel, and the teamsters whose wagon the body was in drove the wagon to the edge of the forest, where we took the dead man out of the wagon and into the woods, and we laid him on the ground out of sight of the road, and after selecting a spot of ground for the resting place for the remains, we went to work and dug a shallow grave, and we placed the body in it without a coffin and dressed in the same clothes that he was killed in. Then we filled in the dirt and made a little mound and made it smooth. Just as we finished, we supposed that an enemy was near us, and we dropped the tools at the grave, and mounting our horses, we sped away from there at a rapid gait. As we galloped by the house, we hallooed to the lady and informed her where we had left her hoe and shovel. We never stopped or slowed up our horses until we caught up with the command. Now, the alarm was a false one, for we were not attacked. I learned after we had reached headquarters that the soldier who committed the murder and the officer who instigated it were court-martialed, but I never did find out whether they were punished or not, for in a short time thereafter I was transferred to another command. Mr. Robinson related this account to me at his residence near Annetta, Indian Territory, one day in June, 1906.